So still on loops, we'll be looking at the other categories of loops, which are the indefinite loops. Okay, so here they are the while loop and the do while loop. So let's go into them and see what they do. The while loop executes the instructions each time the condition specified evaluates to true. In other words, the loop evaluates the condition before the block of code is executed. Okay, so it says the while loop executes instructions each time the condition specified evaluates to true. Alright, let's look at it. It says the loop evaluates the condition before the block of code is executed. Okay. The following illustration shows the flow chart of the while loop. So we have a condition up here. Alright. Yeah, the condition, and then conditional code. If the condition is true, the loop continues. Alright, but if the condition is false, it just exits. Okay, and then this is the syntax. So let's study this. Alright, so we have the syntax. Alright, and what did we do the last time? Let's initialize. I have to turn off this extension. Okay, so let's initialize a variable. Just give me a minute. Alright, so we're going to have this keyword because now we are looking at the while loop. Alright, so while now what I want to do is I want to do something similar. Alright, I want to still, just like I did before, let me print numbers from 1 to 100. Okay, numbers from 1 to 100, and then I think this time around I'll take it a step further and print even numbers between 1 and 100. Okay, so I'm going to now remember in for loop. Alright, in for loop I did something like this, for, and then I initialize my variable first before anything else, before writing my condition and so forth. Alright, but in the while loop it is different. The condition, the variable that I'm going to be using for my count is being initialized outside of the loop. Alright, it is being initialized outside of the loop, outside. Alright, so what will I now write here? I'm going to write my condition that count is less than or equal to 100. Okay, and then I'm going to be printing count, and okay, let me run the code right now the way it is. I just got one. Okay. I need to stop this loop from running. Anyway, let's just continue. So my one is just being printed repeatedly, all right, and it's going to continue until 100. It's going to continue until 100, right? And that was because I did not increment my integer. All right, so now I have incremented. I'm going to try and run again. I need to stop this process first. Okay, hold on. Alright, so if I hit run, I'm going to have numbers from 1 to 100 printed, just like I did the last time. Alright, so this is what a while loop looks like. The while loop does the same thing with the for loop. Alright, they have the same function, but the difference is that the main difference is actually their syntax, the way they are arranged, alright, or the rules for writing them. The rule for writing the while loop is that you initialize your variable first, alright. You do not initialize this variable inside of the loop, or you don't insert it into the loop like you do in for loop. You initialize it outside of the loop. Okay, and then here you provide your condition, and then you print and increment. All right, so I said I was going to take it a step further, right? So what I'm going to do is I want to now print even numbers from 1 to 100. So odd numbers are not going to be printed, only even numbers. Alright, so the way to do that is very simple. Right, you just have a condition that says if count dot is even. Alright, so you just add an if statement to your code. Okay, wrap this print in an if statement that says print only if count is even. So only even numbers from 1 to 100 are going to be printed. Alright, there you go. So we also have another loop known as the do while loop. Alright, so the main difference between these loops are just their syntax. Let's see what the syntax of this one looks like. The do while loop is similar to the while loop, except that the do while loop does not evaluate the condition for the first time the loop executes. However, the condition is evaluated for the subsequent iterations. In other words, the code block will be executed at least once in a do while loop. Okay, so this is the syntax. Alright, this is what the syntax of a do while loop looks like. Right, so if you want to perform the same operation using a do while loop, alright, I can just comment this out. Of course, I'll be needing my variable as well, so I'll leave it, and then start a do while loop. So do what? Print count and increment, right? While count is less than or equal to 100. So this is just what it does. Okay, it was even explained here. It says the do while loop doesn't evaluate the condition for the first time before it executes. So as you can see, it doesn't even evaluate, it doesn't see this condition until after it has done this. Okay, so the first condition must be executed before this is considered for future iterations. All right, so that's just what it simply is. And if I decide to do what I did last time, I can just decide to print is even, or I can even do something like this. If count mod 2 is 0, all right, print count. Okay, so I believe we are good. All right, so if there's anything that is confusing, you can study. You can also reach out to me. Okay, so that's that. Now we have an example here that prints out numbers in the reverse order. Okay, so what they did here, they just initialized this n to 10. All right, and then instead of incrementing, now I am incrementing, right? Instead of incrementing, they are decrementing. So because of that, these numbers are printing backwards. All right, I can do the same thing here. I can just, it's very easy. Instead of plus plus or increment, I'll just do decrement. All right, and my numbers will be printed backwards. Hold on a second. Okay, it's printing the negative numbers. Wow. I have to stop this. This is an infinite loop. All right, so now I have to change my condition to less than, right? Because the numbers I want to print now, because I'm printing backwards, right? The numbers I want to print now have to be less than 100. All right, so yeah, 1 to 100. No, I think it's greater than. Greater than 1 is being decremented. Okay, I realized my mistake. 100, all right, and then 1. I have to stop this. Okay, so now what I ran into was an infinite loop, right? I need to be very careful not to run into that. Now this is what I needed to do, because I wanted to print my I wanted to print backwards. I wanted to print my numbers backwards. All right. I needed to initialize count to 100, no longer 1, so that starting from 100 it will decrement until it gets to 1, right? Until this condition is false. So as long as this condition is true, it will keep running. But as soon as this condition is false, so that it doesn't go to minus, it doesn't go to negative numbers, right? It will just terminate. So let's try again. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so before now I had this as 1 and I had this as less than or equal to 100, right? But then I am decrementing, I am not incrementing, right? So it started from -2, -4, because I'm printing even numbers only. If I wasn't printing even numbers, you would have seen it go from 0, -1, -2, -3, and it will continue because this condition is true. I mean, all negative numbers are less than 100. All right. So when you're working with loops, you must be very careful not to run into infinite loops. Check your conditions well, right? Check your condition well, and be sure that what you have is not an infinite loop. All right. So we have control statements and description, break statements. I would like to use my notes here at this point. All right. So break statements. What does break statement do? It stops the loop completely. All right. It stops a loop completely. Example: stop when a number equals 5. All right. So let me go back. So let me just do a simple loop here. All right. Less than or equal to 100. Change this back to increment. Okay, and do all of this. So what I simply have is a loop that increases numbers, or that counts from 1 to 100. All right. So I can do a break. I can include a break statement that says if count is maybe when it gets to 50 or when it gets to 40, anywhere I want. Break. What this break means is that this loop should just stop abruptly. All right, it should stop executing. That is what break means. So this loop is going to break when we count to 40. It's not going to continue. All right, so that is what it means. So from 1 to 39. Okay, so as soon as count got to 40, it stopped, it broke, it did not execute anymore, because the increment operation is being carried out at this point. If I had brought it afterwards, right, you see I would have had 40 printed after 39 before breaking. All right, so that is what break does. And then we also have continue. So the continue statement, what does it do? It skips the current iteration and moves to the next one. All right, it skips the current iteration and moves to the next one. So I can actually use continue here. Continue. Okay, spelling. Continue. So when I get to 40, it's just going to skip that number 40. All right, it will not be printed. It will not execute this statement. All right, and then 40 will just be skipped. Okay, I have to review this loop. If it gets to 40, and this is very slow, I don't like it. Okay, let's see if it does better. Let me use a smaller number. All right, so 1 to 10, 1 to 10, and if it gets to 4, skip. Continue. I think I should use a for loop for this. Let me use a for loop for this. For okay, int counts 1, initialize to 1, condition counts less than or equal to 10, and then counts increment. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this and put here. Let's see. All right, so it skipped 4. All right, and then printed the rest. So that's it about loops. All right, we are done with everything here. So from our next class, we'll be going into module 2 of this course, which is function mastery. All right, we're going to be talking about functions. All right, and it's going to be an exciting topic actually. Okay, things are now getting more advanced and you're fast becoming a Dart programmer. Okay, that's nice. So thank you so much for this class, and see you in the next class. Thank you.